there, I just want to let you know that this is one of my oh so late spoiler movie reviews. It was recorded quite a while ago, so please keep in mind that my opinions about this movie are first impressions only, freshly expressed right after watching the film for the first time. If you want access to my full reaction to this movie, feel free to join my membership club. Details about it are in the description box below. Now, back to my spoiler review.
We are done on this. We are done. Wow. Okay, I can only presume that end credit had to do perhaps with Eternals, because this movie came out before Eternals, after Black Widow. So usually with Marvel, as we know, their stuff at the end always is related to something coming up. And Eternals was the movie that came up. And considering that apparently Eternals is about eternal beings, and the ring is like, a gazillion years old, whatever. I'm sure it's tied in. I haven't seen Eternals at this point, but I'm recording this reaction. It's been out. It's tanked at the box office, apparently, and I actually never had any interest to watch it, to be fair, after watching the teaser trailer, and then eventually watching the full trailer, which I did not record my reaction to. But after watching the full trailer, I was even more like, no, I'll skip. I'll watch some spoiler reviews and take it from there. And I have actually watched a couple of spoiler reviews, and all the more so I'm just like, yeah, I'll skip it. It's okay. If you've been watching my reactions to other stuff related to Marvel, I'm very disillusioned with the franchise as it is. My interest level in their next phase is very, very low, and the only character I care to see anything about at this point is Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange is my favorite Marvel character in general, as a normie. So, yeah. Now, let's talk about this movie a little bit. Let me give you some of my thoughts, what I think are hits and misses, and just leave it at that. And I'm looking forward to any comments you have about your thoughts on this movie. Okay, so I like to start usually with the negative, so I can end off more on a positive note, because there are some positives for sure about this movie that I am happy to share. So let's start with the main thing that for me didn't work. So this is like my number one gripe with it. If you are an Awkwafina fan, I'm going to bug you and annoy you with my complaint about Awkwafina being in this movie. And not necessarily just as an actress, but the character of Katie. It didn't work for me only because they have many moments where they're setting up the sister to be equally important and actually a better fighter, which is going to lead into my next miss, but I'm just saying, you're propping up the sister. I think what they should have done to make it more personal, because this movie is about Shang-Chi and his family, mother and his father and his sister and their aunt and her village. Like, it's about his family. And I think having Katie there as comic relief on top of that, which to me was kind of cringe at most moments. And again, I'm a bit biased with that because I personally don't care for the actress Awkwafina. But there were moments she did make me chuckle. I'll give her that, But take her out of the picture and have the sister be the counterbalance, as we saw towards the end there, to really add depth to this being a family story. I can only presume Awkwafina was cast in as the Western aspect that we're supposed to kind of relate to, considering that there were quite a number of commentary about Americanized Asians and how their heritage could be forgotten. And so I get that, where she likely represents that, because she doesn't speak Mandarin. She knows her Chinese name, but she doesn't use it and doesn't really put it out there and doesn't understand the importance of it related to their culture. So I get that. Likely they're trying to appeal to Asians who perhaps think and act or live that way. I get it. But in my opinion, at this point, from everything that I've watched, they had so much going on as it is, and tacking her on, especially at the end, made it even more just like, why? Why wouldn't you not have his sister be the person that is partnered with Shang-Chi about these rings? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So it leads in very easily to my second miss, and that is Marvel, again, attempting and failing at this message. I get it. I get you're trying to show female empowerment. 'Tis the times where, You want to make sure that your audience, your global audience, are on par with this message that men are equal to women and women are equal to men, whatever. I get it. But where they miss the mark is you prop her up, you say that she's a better fighter, because that's pretty much what she says to Shang-Chi, right? In the movie. I learned what you learned, but better. She kicks his ass in the first fight he has. Okay? And then at moments, I called it, which was easy to call, where she saves him at the end there and then gets overshadowed by Katie being more important. They might as well have had made it where if you're going to build up the sister as being actually a lot more important, or maybe important's not the right word, but a lot more powerful than Shang-Chi himself, then have her earn the rings. I actually would have respected that bold choice, and this is not the first time I've mentioned this in other properties where they prop up the woman character as being better, really, than the male protagonist, than the male hero of the story, and then they don't give her the full credit of it. Okay? So in this case, it would have actually made sense to me. Even if it goes against the comics, that to me would have made it a better choice, because it just seems cowardly to get so far with a character like the sister and then just ditch her for Katie, who, again, I don't understand why at the end she's more important to bring in with the Avengers when you likely should actually have the sister, who's more capable, apparently. And as for my last miss, Katie and Shang-Chi. I know they have to have this movie appeal to Chinese market, and perhaps, I don't know if it's a cultural thing where showing romance between a man and a woman on screen is taboo. I don't know, so forgive my ignorance on that. But as a person in North America watching this movie, it didn't make any sense that he has this 10-year friendship. And I'm doing this because it's a weird friendship. He's a young man, and at that age in the Western world, you have this platonic relationship, it seems, with very little chemistry just between the actors. So even if they did show them as boyfriend and girlfriend, it still would have been awkward, but I would have preferred that, so that it makes a bit more sense why she's still tagging along at the end as some kind of romantic situation. Because I even said at the end of the movie that if they do decide to suddenly realize they have feelings for each other, it would be pathetic, but it would then make it understandable that their bond strengthened somehow, and that they take their whatever relationship to another level to add more depth. But instead, it seems as if they were still friends, just closer friends who got to the point of touching each other's hand. And yeah, it's weird. It's weird, and it kind of made it all the more annoying to have Katie around, because I'm just like, then am I just supposed to believe in this new value of a relationship as friends between a man and a woman, and it doesn't have to be romantic, and they can have their own journey? And I don't know. I don't know what the message is there. Again, like I said, if it's something related to Asian culture that I'm just not familiar with, I'm happy to be informed about it in the comment section with respect and courtesy, of course, okay? So those were my misses. Let's now focus on the main things that I think works very well with this movie. The first being the performances, because to be fair, although the pacing was really not to my cup of tea, when it was slow, what kept me still engaged and prevented me from falling asleep was the performance, primarily from Simu Liu, Michelle Yao, Benedict Wong when he did show up. He's a scene stealer. But also the actor who plays their father, I don't know his name right now off the cuff, and the actress who plays their sister. Their performances were strong enough to keep my attention, and so in a general sense, I have to give credit to that, because without decent performance, this movie could have easily fallen apart on so many levels. Which leads me to the next best thing about this movie, and that is the visual effects. I have seen my share, and I'm sure you have, of movies with a lot of CG, and towards the latter half, that's all you really see. It's just a CG mess. And I think that although there was a lot of CG towards the end, especially with the dragons, it was still visually appealing and crisp enough for me to see some really interesting detail with their color scheme and everything. I personally enjoyed it, and so if you are the kind of person that are very attracted to the visual eye candy of a movie, I believe that this movie delivers quite well on that front. And as for the last thing that's very impressive about this movie, and I'm very relieved that it was impressive, but I think they could have actually bumped it up a little bit more, and that's the martial arts. I grew up with all kinds of martial arts, old kung fu movies with the white bearded men. I grew up with Jackie Chan movies as well. And so, although I think the choreography for this movie is just top notch, I think they actually should have built up more on there. Maybe it would have been too long because there were a number of fight sequences between different characters, but personally, I would have preferred just a little bit more. Primarily, that fight sequence between Shang-Chi and one of the father's warriors, because we saw some of that in the trailer, but I was quite surprised how short it actually ended up being in the movie itself. I'm just saying. I like that kind of stuff, so just personally, I would have liked this a bit more. But overall, I think the fight sequences add value to this movie that makes it all the more memorable. So, there you have it. Those are my thoughts about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Please share with me in the comments what are your thoughts about this movie. Did you end up rewatching it over and over again? Did you do a triple run at the movie theaters, or did you wait for it to actually come on Disney Plus like I did? Because I kind of had no choice under the circumstances. Let me know, and thank you so much for tuning in for this oh so late review. I'm Asha, tuning out until my next review of a movie. Peace out.
Thanks for watching. Check out my other videos and subscribe. You know you wanna.